My name's Jeremy. I'm a scientist, and I'm trying to start a kindness revolution in my spare time. I'm going to tell you all about it. It's called Long Distance Love Bombs, and it's awesome. But first, I want to ask you a question, and then I want to tell you a story. The question is this: what if kindness was cool? And the story is one I will never forget. The story starts in an airport. A couple years ago, I was standing at the gate, and I was waiting for my flight to board. And I looked over, and I saw this woman sitting by herself, and she was crying, loudly and alone. And I watched her for a few moments, until eventually she hung up the phone, and she just sort of sat there sobbing silently by herself. And I felt terrible, and I wanted to do something to help her. And so I reached into my wallet, and I pulled out a card. And on the back of the card, I wrote, "It'll be okay, and you will be too." And I walked over, I looked her in the eyes, I handed her the card, I gave her a little pat on the back. And then I turned and I walked away because my flight was boarding, I had to go. So I don't know what her reaction was, I don't know how she responded. But I felt like in that moment, we had a connection. I felt like in that moment, her life was just a little bit better as a result of that small action. And I felt like in that moment, I realized that there's honor in helping someone get through the day. And so this interaction really affected me quite a lot. And I thought a lot about it during my flight. Why was a woman allowed to sit and cry by herself, surrounded by a crowd of people on telephone screens and magazines? Why was I the only one that came forward to help this lady? And why, in our society, is apathy so acceptable and indifference so innocent? And so I sat on the plane that day, and I started thinking about whether or not this is the kind of world that I want to live in, if this is the best that we can do. And I decided that it's not. And so I pictured this alternative version of reality, this daydream, whereby I envisioned the same lady crying the same tears, talking on the same phone, but in my version of reality, I imagined her being bombarded with support. I imagined an old man walking over and giving her a hug. I pictured a group of teenage girls stopping by to sing her a song. I pictured a couple on their honeymoon coming over and telling her a joke, asking if she's okay. I feel like that world is possible. And so I sat on the plane that day and I started thinking about sort of how to change things. I imagined a world where every time someone was sad or lonely or depressed or despondent, they knew that help was hiding in the heart of everyone around them. I imagined a world where kindness was cool, a world where compassion was popular. I pictured a world where helping a stranger was not the exception, it was expected. I pictured a world where social media was not filled with photos of ourselves, it was filled with photos of us doing kind things, generous things, helping each other out. What if people were obsessed with giving selflessly instead of taking selfies? What kind of world would that be? And how do we get there? So I sat on the plane that day, and I decided that I was going to make a difference. I decided I was going to change things. I decided I was going to try to do something. I decided I was going to change the world. But there was one little problem with that. As you can imagine, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know where to start. But I had passion. And everything good starts with passion. So I sat on the plane, and I pictured sort of what a kindness revolution would look like. And I decided that it would look like any other type of revolution. It would start with an idea whose time has come. And ideas are just words. So I thought that I would start there, with words. And so I started writing, and I started sharing, and I started small. Using this airport encounter as inspiration, I started dropping little love bombs everywhere I went. Little bits of encouraging insights, bits of inspiration. I left these things at the beach, overseas, at the library, at the supermarket. That one's from Otto's. Everywhere I went. I like the idea of surprise. I like the idea that in this crazy, cruel world of ours, a stranger could stumble upon a bit of connection, a bit of help, an unexpected epiphany. I kept growing. I kept working. I started writing longer articles online, and I shared those with the world. an ode to the brokenhearted, a kindness manifesto to start a revolution, how to make love stay. And I shared these with the world, and then the craziest damn thing happened, that people actually read what I wrote, and then they liked what I wrote, and then they shared what I wrote, and now my words have been shared hundreds of thousands of times all around the world, and that boggles my mind entirely. I kept working, I kept growing. People told me that I should start a Facebook page to share my work, and so I did. My Kind Vibe tribe on Facebook has about 8,000 followers. I've met the most amazing people. I've heard the most heartfelt and heartbreaking stories. This is Jennifer O'Brien Leach. About a year ago, she sent me a message telling me that she loved what I did, that her life was also devoted to spreading joy and laughter and warmth. She told me she was a cancer survivor, 2 years in remission. At the end of last year, she sent me another message. She told me that the cancer was back, that she was scared shitless, not only for herself, but for her 2 young daughters. And in response, I wrote her a letter. I sent her a couple little gifts of support and solidarity. And then about 2 months ago, I got another message from one of her friends. And she told me, Jennifer's not doing so good. Is there anything you can do to help? So I jumped on my Facebook page. I wrote a post. I called it the first ever public love bomb. And I offered just solidarity and encouragement. I asked people that followed my page to leave comments below for Jennifer. And they did. About 50 people left the most beautiful little messages for her. And I even wrote one of my own. Good giggle. I told Jennifer to kick cancer in the balls. She told me I was her hero. And then about a week later, she passed away. I'm trying to change the world. I'm trying to make kindness cool. And I'm trying to do that by creating a community of connection. A community that shows that the world is filled with good people doing good things and that you can be one too. I'm trying to help people feel less alone. And I knew that if I wanted to change the world, I had to connect with it. I had to make people feel something. I had to be authentic and vulnerable and emotional. I had to be myself. I knew that if I wanted to connect with people, they needed to understand what I was saying and why I was saying it. So I had to use common language, simple words. I needed short sentences. I had to take big ideas like love and betrayal and hopelessness and despair and turn those into manageable actions. I knew that if I wanted to stop the darkness, I had to become the light. I needed to inspire, to encourage. I had to provide a vision of possibility and help people get there. I needed to be optimistic, hopeful. I kept growing. I kept working. I started an Instagram account to share my words, and I've got a couple thousand followers on there. And that's a photo of my mom sitting on Fabio's lap, which I'm pretty sure is the first for a TED Talk. I'm pretty proud of that, actually. I kept growing. I kept working. I've donated to charity for years, and I like the idea of that, but I grew tired of it because I didn't know where the money goes, who gets it, what's done with it. There's administrative costs, bureaucracy. And so last year I decided, fuck it, I'm going to start my own charity campaign. And so I donated $500 to try to make kindness cool, to try to make the world better than it was yesterday. And those of you who have been a student know that it's not the most lucrative time of your life, but understatement. I wanted to show, that if I could do something, that they could do something, that you can do something. I wanted to walk the talk. So I started a kind and inspiring collaboration to kickstart an awesome smorgasbord of support. And this thoroughly unplanned, entirely disorganized, Long Distance Love Bombs' kicks ass campaign raised another $1,000 on Facebook. And with the money, we solicited applications from people that wanted to make kindness cool, that wanted to make the world better than yesterday. And we funded a bunch of cool projects. We bought educational supplies and household goods for a group of disadvantaged youth down south. We bought a beehive for a community garden that was seeking to unify a neighborhood, bring people together. We did a bunch of other really cool stuff. Throughout all of this, I kept growing, I kept working, and I kept dropping these love bombs wherever I went. At the beach, overseas, at the bus stop, just in flower beds. The idea of spreading and sharing love is huge, and it's intimidating, and it's overwhelming, but this makes it so easy. It's virtually free, it's convenient, you can do it wherever you are. It's cheap, it's anonymous, but most importantly, this stuff works, and it's spreading. A group of high school students in Sweden saw my Facebook page, and they spent a day writing little notes for their classmates, and they hid those all around campus. Another student right here in Townsville, William Ross State High School, did something similar as part of an anti-bullying campaign. Her name's Maddie Hassett, and she's sitting right there. Yeah. And this is Darius. I met Darius at a market a few months ago, and his mom told him what I was doing and why I was doing it, and Darius was into it. So I gave him a couple of my cards, and I didn't think anything of it until a couple days later, I got an email from his mom showing me this photo. I mean, come on. So I don't know where this is going. I started by giving a crying stranger a hint of hope, and now I'm standing here giving a TED Talk, and that is remarkable. And as honored and as humbled as I am to be here, it saddens me that we live in a world where kindness is considered to be an idea worth sharing, an idea worth spreading, a world where vulnerability is considered to be heroic, a world where a man who tries to spread some love in his spare time is given a stage to share his story. But I get it. The world breaks my heart every day, and I know firsthand that sometimes life is not so great at all. Heartache is an old friend of mine, and I know what sorrow tastes like. I've met cancer, defeat, and hopelessness, and I'm familiar with alcoholism, depression, and betrayal. I know what funerals do to your soul. I've lost friends and gained enemies. People I've loved like angels have treated me like devils, and I've felt ghosts in my veins where gods used to reign. But I don't tell you these things to boast of my battles or to garner your sympathy. I tell you these things to share that everybody has been hurt, everybody's doing the best that they can, everybody struggles, and everybody deserves kindness. That's my message. My wings are not pristine. They are held on by nothing more than the fire in my belly and the grit in my teeth. But guess what? I have wings, and I proudly flutter around every damn day. And I will always fly, because I have wings. Flying is a choice, and we all have wings, so let's help each other fly. That's my message. I'm not perfect, and I don't pretend to be. I am a flawed work in progress, and I'm trying to make a difference in this world by trying to make a difference in myself. And I will always struggle and stumble. It's a battle. No matter the setbacks, the knockbacks, the lies, and the loss, I will overcome. I will move forward. I will keep going and keep growing, because I am fierce. But so are you. We have work to do, and it's easier if we try to help each other out, so let's try to help each other out. That's my message. Empathy and encouragement, that's my message. I believe in a better world than the one that we have. And I get messages from people telling me how I've inspired them and how I've encouraged them, how I've helped them through the day, how I've saved their life, and that affects me a lot. In my head, I'm not doing anything special. I'm not a hero. I'm not extraordinary. I'm just a dude trying to spread some love in his spare time. The real story here is not me, and it's not long-distance love bombs. The real story here is that we live in a world where vulnerability is rare, where compassion is endangered, where basic human connection is nearly extinct. We live in a world where kindness has become a revolutionary act, and that is tragic. But we should never waste a crisis. Do you remember the woman I met in the airport? The one that was crying by herself, all alone? I have a confession to make. I've been that person, but so have you. You ever been scared? You ever felt lonely? You ever felt like giving up? We all have. We've all been there before, and we'll be there again. The biggest truth and tragedy in life is that we are all uniquely the same. We've all been that person in the airport. Sometimes our airport is a school, or a house, or a person, but we've been there before, and we'll be there again, and when we're there, we need help. So what are you going to do about it? And when I stop talking, what will you start doing? Will you be brave? Will you help a stranger? Will you be kind? Life is hard, and it's scary, and it's overwhelming, and I feel it every day. We all do. But if we can face that fear together, something beautiful will happen. Things will change. Life will get better. And this world will slowly improve, so let's do that. That's my message. And if today is not your day, if you need a helping hand or a hug, I would encourage you to look underneath your chair right now, because I've left you guys a little gift, a little love bomb. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen.